Tatiana the Tiger, San Francisco Zoo, 2007. This tiger had killed before. Everyone at the zoo knew it. So why were teenagers allowed near her enclosure? Christmas Day, 2007, San Francisco Zoo. A quiet holiday evening was about to turn into a nightmare. Tatiana wasn't just any tiger. In 2006, she had mauled a zookeeper, leaving permanent scars. Yet her enclosure remained mostly unchanged. That evening, 3 teenagers, Carlos Sousa Jr. and brothers Paul and Colbert Dollywall, wandered near closing time. They shouted at animals, threw objects, and climbed railings, oblivious to the danger. Before we continue, if this story has your attention, hit like. Comment below, who was more responsible, the teens or the zoo? Minutes later, at the Tiger Grotto, Tatiana's instincts took over. The wall was only 12.9 feet, far below the 16-foot federal standard, and the moat was dry. At 5:02 p.m., she climbed out. Carlos was hit first! Deep punctures, skull and spinal fractures. His brothers tried to help, but Tatiana slashed them as they ran through the empty zoo to the locked terrace cafe. A 19-minute delay passed before help arrived. When officers entered, Tatiana calmly fed on Carlos's body. Flashing lights and shouting failed. They had no choice but to shoot. Lawsuits followed, settlements were paid, and the enclosure was rebuilt with higher walls, glass barriers, and electric fencing. The lesson is clear. Weak barriers, reckless behavior, and delayed response can turn a routine visit deadly. Dawn Brancheau, SeaWorld Tilikum, 2010. Just 1 year before Dawn's death, another orca attack exposed warning signs everyone missed. Christmas Eve, 2009. Loro Park in Tenerife, Spain. Trainer Alexis Martinez was working with Quito, a 6,600-pound orca, during what seemed like a routine training session. Trainers had noticed something was off. Quito wasn't responding well, but the show went on. At first, the session appeared normal. Alexis moved confidently through the water, completing exercises. Then, in an instant, everything went wrong. If you haven't already, hit like and comment. Do you think orcas should be kept in captivity? Quito suddenly pushed Alexis underwater with his rostrum, then rammed him in the chest. Trainers at the pool's edge tried everything, slapping water, signaling, shaking a food bucket, but Quito ignored them. He lifted Alexis out of the water, held him in his mouth, then released him. Rescuers struggled to redirect Quito, delaying recovery. By the time staff used a net, it was too late. The autopsy revealed massive internal bleeding, shattered chest, and torn organs. The force was unimaginable. This attack, like others in captivity, wasn't random. Orcas and tanks experience stress behaviors absent in the wild. 4 trainers have died. 0 humans have been killed by wild orcas. These attacks are cries for help. Intelligent creatures trapped in small tanks, denied the space they need, paying the ultimate price. St. James Davis, a NASCAR pilot, and his wife LaDonna had a chimpanzee named Mo. They raised him like their own son, after poachers killed his mother in Tanzania. Since they couldn't have children, Mo became their everything. He wore clothes, ate at their table, and even took part in their wedding. But after Mo bit a police officer and a visitor, a painful legal battle forced them to give him up. Still, they visited him constantly at the ranch, bringing his favorite treats and toys. March 2005. They arrived with cake, candy hearts, and chocolate milk. Mo saw them and started clapping, smiling wide. Everything felt perfect. LaDonna leaned over to cut the cake, when suddenly she caught movement from the corner of her eye. A young male chimp named Buddy had escaped his cage. Before she could react, he lunged and bit off her thumb. St. James shoved her under the picnic table, trying to protect her. Then another chimp, Ollie, broke free. Both chimps attacked together with terrifying strength. They jumped on St. James, tearing at his face, hands, and feet, ripping away skin and flesh until he was unrecognizable. The ranch owner's son-in-law heard the screams, grabbed his revolver, and ran toward the chaos. He found the chimps attacking and shot Buddy first. Then he chased Ollie, who was dragging St. James's mangled body down a walkway. He fired again, killing Ollie instantly. Paramedics said it looked like a grizzly bear attack. St. James had lost almost everything. His fingers, his left foot, much of his face, his nose, lips, and even his testicles. LaDonna's hand was covered in blood, her thumb gone. St. James was airlifted to the hospital, where he stayed for 6 months, partly in a coma. Over 4 years, he endured more than 60 surgeries. He survived, but permanently disfigured, with 1 prosthetic eye and 2 small slits where his nose used to be. Franco, Louise, Ferd, Roman, Chile Lions, 2016. May 22, 2016, Santiago, Chile. Franco Luis Ferrata Roman, 20, stripped naked and climbed into the lion enclosure, believing God would protect him. He left notes claiming divine power and prophetic messages, convinced he was untouchable. That morning, Franco scaled the barriers, shouting about faith and protection. Tourists froze, thinking it was part of a show. It wasn't. Hit like and comment. What would you have done if you saw this? The lions attacked instantly. Multiple lions swarmed him, tearing into his head, chest, and pelvis. Zookeepers tried everything: water hoses, tranquilizer darts. But the predators were relentless. 1 dart struck Franco's neck, but the attack continued. With no other option, staff opened fire. 2 lions were killed in front of shocked visitors. Franco was pulled out, critically injured, but still alive. A miraculous survival, given the force of the attack. Faith didn't save him that day. Predators don't recognize devotion. They recognize prey. Understanding that difference could have spared 3 lives. Franco's and 2 lions simply doing what they were built to do. Maddox Derkosh, 14 feet down. Sometimes the most dangerous person at a zoo isn't someone unstable or intoxicated. It's a parent who thinks they know better. On November 4th, 2012, at the Pittsburgh Zoo, that tragic truth became real. At the African painted dog viewing deck, warning signs were posted everywhere, clearly stating, "Do not lift children." But Maddox Derkosh's mother wanted her 2-year-old to get a better look. She held him over the railing for just a moment, and in seconds, he slipped from her hands. Maddox fell 14 feet. The safety net beneath him wasn't designed to catch people, only phones and sunglasses. He bounced off it and tumbled into the enclosure directly below. A pack of 11 African painted dogs swarmed instantly. His mother screamed and tried to jump in, but visitors restrained her as the dogs continued the attack. Maddox remained conscious, suffering more than 46 wounds to his head and neck. His internal organs were destroyed. He bled to death before any staff could reach him. What followed was a bitter legal battle. Zoo versus mother. No charges were filed. The viewing platform was permanently removed, and the dogs were relocated. Rosa King, the open gate. It was a routine morning at Hamilton Zoo. 33-year-old keeper Rosa King was preparing the tiger enclosure, cleaning the viewing windows before visitors arrived. Nearby was Ozzy, a full-grown Malayan tiger. This was standard work. Nothing unusual, at least on the surface. Before opening hours, strict procedures were mandatory. A heavy vertical slide door, plus 2 secondary gates, all needed to be fully closed before a keeper entered. But that morning, all 3 barriers had been left open. Rosa stepped inside, without realizing Ozzy had unrestricted access to the space behind her. The attack was immediate and devastating. Ozzy lunged with extreme force, clamping his jaws around her neck. Her spine was completely severed, leaving her instantly paralyzed. Deep gouges tore through her arms. Her leg was mangled, and multiple cuts covered her body. A visitor walking past the viewing glass saw Rosa's body lying motionless inside the enclosure. She had lost massive amounts of blood within moments. There was no chance of survival. The investigation afterward found no mechanical failure, no broken locks, only human error. A single forgotten step had opened a path straight into the tiger's territory. And the message was painfully clear. 1 missed procedure is all it takes to cost a life. Patricia Wyman, 4 days in. April 1996. 24-year-old wildlife biologist Patricia Wyman had just started her dream job at Halliburton Forest in Ontario, a job she had worked years to earn. But that dream lasted only 4 days. Patricia was assigned to care for a wolf pack kept as wild as possible, animals the public could only view through one-way glass. From day 1, staff drilled the rules into her. Never touch the wolves, never enter their 15-acre enclosure alone, and never assume their behavior is predictable. Yet one morning, for reasons investigators never fully understood, Patricia walked into the enclosure by herself. The wolves, normally cautious and shy, responded in a way no one expected. They rose to their feet. They closed in. Within moments, Patricia was surrounded. She tripped over a fallen tree, and the alpha male struck her, knocking her to the ground. The rest of the pack followed, grabbing and pulling her in different directions, wolves weighing over 170 pounds each. The attack lasted only minutes. When police arrived, the pack was standing guard over her body. They hadn't eaten her. The sudden shift in behavior was never explained. As investigators said, the alpha male's aggression came from nowhere. Jose de Jesus, Mexico tiger, 2022. Sometimes, the most dangerous moment at a zoo isn't caused by wild animals alone. It's when human error meets a predator's instinct. August 2022. A private zoo in Mexico. What should have been a routine feeding quickly became a tragedy that shocked the nation. The tiger involved was no stranger to aggression. Large, powerful, and unpredictable, it had already shown signs of stress under human contact. That day, Jose de Jesus, a 32-year-old caretaker, entered the enclosure without a colleague nearby, ignoring standard safety protocols. Cameras showed him moving past the barriers, tossing food into the tiger's pen, unaware that the animal was closely watching, waiting for an opportunity. Quick pause. If this story is gripping, hit like and comment below. What could have prevented this tragedy? Within moments, the tiger lunged. Jose tried to retreat, but the space was too small, the walls too low. The predator's jaws clamped on his torso. Colleagues outside screamed and pounded on the glass, throwing objects and shouting, desperately trying to distract it. Bystanders called authorities, but the delay was critical. The tiger didn't let go until emergency teams arrived. When officials finally entered, the scene was horrifying. Jose had suffered multiple puncture wounds and severe internal injuries. Despite rapid medical intervention, he died at the scene. Investigators later confirmed no mechanical failure. Every barrier and gate had functioned correctly. The tiger had acted entirely on instinct, and human error was the only cause. The enclosure was immediately reinforced, staff retrained, and emergency protocols rewritten. The lesson is chillingly clear. Even the smallest lapse in caution can turn a controlled environment into a deadly trap.